Let's see if it's working. I took stuff apart to dust stuff off. So hopefully everything is working. Hopefully everything is working. Let's see. I don't know if anybody can hear me. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome. I made it. Ooh, I'm tired. Hey! Hi, LTFM. Hi, Judy. I'm so glad you made it. I'm happy Friday. And happy Friday evening. Made it to the weekend. Man, this was a hard week. Hi, Tarot Gothis. Thank you all for being here. Oh, man. Hi, Nara. Thanks for being here. I have a little bit that we could talk about, but nothing really. So, feel free to go ahead and put your numbers and your topics and your questions into the chat. Who are you telling, Anara? This week was insane, and the craziest part about it is I can't even tell you why. All I know is I'm like super tired. Like there's been weeks and really like all of September where it was just crazy and I was exhausted, but I could tell you exactly why. Like this was happening and that was happening and this energy was coming in and I felt this. I don't even know why. I'm just tired. I'm just tired. I'm just exhausted. But there we did have some interesting things that were happening this week energetically. So that could be it, but I don't know. I don't know. We could talk about it and see if we could figure it out. So let me know what numbers and stuff you were feeling this week or seeing. Um, Sounds like we all just were exhausted. Hey, Noah, thanks for being here. So while I'm waiting, yeah, today was, yeah, it's actually been the last couple days that have been the worst, Inara. Um, but we've had a couple of things. Let me pull up the calendar so I can make sure I'm not mixing up like the dates of things. Um, but we had a couple of different things that were happening this week that definitely impacted the energy. So on Tuesday this week, so on October 21st, we had a new moon. And I believe this new moon was in Libra. So this was starting a brand new cycle. We've already had a ton of that one energy coming in. And so this definitely could have added to the exhaustion of just the rush of energy. That could have definitely been part of it. We also had this week, I don't remember if it was Wednesday or Thursday. Maybe I'll check and see. Um, we had, I think it was yesterday, Thursday. Yeah. So yesterday, Thursday, the 23rd, we also had So let me write this. October 23rd, we had Jupiter square Chiron. And so what that means, Jupiter is like, the big expanding energy. Like it makes everything bigger. Um and Jupiter right now is in the sign of Cancer. And so it's been there since about July. So it's expanding this Cancer vibration, where Cancer is very much tied. It actually is the sign of the moon. Like it's very tied to moon energy. So having that combination of the new moon and then Jupiter being activated and being in Cancer, all of our moons are going to be expanded. Their energy is going to be expanded um, for the next like 3 years, is how long Jupiter is going to be in Cancer. Um, Also, we have Chiron is retrograde. It's part of retrograde season. And so um, this is very much the energy of the wounds. So we could definitely be feeling more of the battle wounds, especially because this is retrograde. So the energy is turned inward. So instead of acting our wounds outward, when Chiron is direct, we're definitely feeling it more inward. So it's kind of like we just got into a fight with our wounds, and it's hitting us hard. So that definitely is part of it. But also just this square. So whenever we have a square, it's creating tension. So there's a tension that's being created between Jupiter trying to expand outward because it's direct in the sign of Cancer. So it's trying to make this moon energy bigger in the areas of like home and family. Um, while Chiron is turning inward and having us look at our wounds. And so there's this push and pull between these two things when we have this square. And then because these are so slow moving, we're probably going to be feeling this through next week. So this certainly could be some of what we are feeling. What else are you feeling? Yeah. Yeah. I think this is that heaviness, Anara, as you're describing it. Because Chiron very much um so our wounds are burdensome. They're our most burdensome lessons. So they'll be the heaviest lessons. So with Chiron activated here, especially by Jupiter. So whenever there's anything that has like an aspect to each other, um, they are working off those energies. And when it's Jupiter in aspect to anything, it's expanding those energies. So this Chiron retrograde definitely has been expanded this week, starting yesterday. Um, and again, we'll be feeling this, yeah, till probably mid next week. But a way that you can work with it is just to accept that that's what it is, and that you need to kind of look at those wounds and recognize what wounds are really causing that heaviness. And if they're going to be internal wounds, because Chiron is here um, retrograde. So it's the energy turned in. Yeah. So it's like um, our wounds are getting highlighted right now. It's kind of like when like you get an injury, and so then you have to go back to work or back to school, and you have crutches or you have a bandage or you have, something that indicates that you have a wound, and everybody is like asking you about it. Because they keep drawing attention to it, it's amplifying that energy, and you're thinking about it. And then you could take that a number of different ways, because if you if you are one of those people that like attention, then you could definitely make it worse for yourself by, oh yes, it's so hard. It hurts so bad, it's such a wound. But if you're somebody that doesn't like that attention, then even just getting that attention can be very draining, like having that pointed out. And when this is our emotional, spiritual wounds, this is, yeah, people are still gonna see it because it's bigger. So it could be events, conversations, people you come around that are, um, making you notice these wounds. So just notice them and figure out how you can work through them. Even if it's just journaling about them, just acknowledge them. That'll help with some of the weight. That actually, kind of goes along with what I've been seeing this week in a lot of different spaces where we talked about, and then I did a video about, how October is resonating at that 19, and it's the mirror image of, 91, which is the vibration of mirror. We've been having a lot of mirror events happening this week for individuals, but we've seen it in public spaces, um, which means that it's probably even more amplified in our own personal life. Oh, good question, Anara. So, heaviness attributed to, yeah, pivoting? Yes, absolutely. So, anything that makes us uncomfortable. This is why, like they say a lot of times, that, um, when something really good is about to come into your space, something really bad happens, like the day before, or you get this heaviness or something. Like, we want to get to the point where it's just that we feel heavy, but nothing bad is happening because we are balancing our energy and what we're drawing in. But it's those uncomfortable states are for us to be able to pivot and change, because the hardest place to change from is a place of comfort. So if we're comfortable, we're less likely to notice that a change is needed or to see that a pivot or a change is necessary. And so a lot of times you will have the heaviness come in. You'll have some of the life disruption come in to cause some uncomfortableness so that you can become more aware of what needs to be, changed or pivoted or something that needs to happen. The problem is, especially in the United States, and especially for people that have been in, marginalized or oppressed, um, situations, which a lot of us are we're just born into. Um, we have had to be in uncomfortable situations like daily for so long that it's harder for us to be able to recognize when we need to pivot or change, because we've gotten too used to just bulldozing our way through. I know that's like what I've had to work on for quite a few years is, recognizing that, all right, if this heaviness is coming in, and that means something is making me uncomfortable so that I can make a change and I can make a pivot, how do I make sure not to catastrophize it and like make it a really big thing, like based on survival? Because many of us have been in those situations where it was survival, where you were made to be extremely uncomfortable because your survival depended on it. But as we work through some of these wounds and as we um, get to a place in life where we're not just surviving, now we have to learn how to not make such an extreme change or an extreme pivot. And that's really hard. Also, we have to recognize when that uncomfortableness comes in, because if it's not as extreme as we're used to, we could miss it and not recognize that a change or a pivot needs to happen because it's uncomfortable, but it's not uncomfortable enough. And we don't want to have to be like way uncomfortable to be able to make changes. We just want to be uncomfortable enough and be able to recognize it. But that's hard to do when you've been in like survival mode for a very long time. Okay, let me read your chat. Yeah. Yeah. So making a change, but then be recognizing so much of like how it connects to other people. That's actually um so if you do that naturally, Anara, and this is for anybody. So if you naturally are always thinking about, and a lot of times it's us mothers where we're thinking about like I need to make this change, but how does this change impact my family? How does it impact my children? How does it impact all these other people around me? Um that's part of shifting out of survival because it doesn't have to be that extreme. Is what I'm trying to learn this too. But the change and the pivot doesn't have to be as so extreme that it highly impacts us or it highly impacts those around us. When you're in survival mode, you have to make extreme change in that moment to be able to survive. And that's just our natural instinct. But what we have to begin to learn to do is like, okay, this change needs to happen, this pivot needs to happen, but it's okay if it happens over the next 3 months. And I'm making smaller changes to build up to that bigger change. So we have to distinguish between if it's truly a survival moment where you have to make a split second decision and it's necessary right now, or if it really is something that can be made over time. But for any of us that do that naturally, so Inara, it could just be in your chart that you have this Cancer energy is the energy of mother. So, okay, so even if you don't have children, if you assume that mother role, that's the Cancer energy in your chart. And right now, and for the next 3 years, um, Jupiter is in the sign of Cancer and it's amplifying all of those feelings of mother. So, in the next 3 years, if you're one of those people that takes on a mothering role or you are a mother, it's going to feel like those that role is much more amplified than usual because we have Jupiter in Cancer. But there are ways that we can use this to our advantage also. Um, the other thing is that I think it's actually next month. It's either November or December where Jupiter is going to go retrograde in Cancer. So it's going to turn all that energy inward. So what we can do right now, and this goes along with trying to make sure that we are not jumping into changes, but moving into changes a little bit at a time, is we can really start nurturing ourselves. Because the other thing is that this Libra energy, and we've just come out of Libra season. So that happened this week also, where the sun moved from Libra into Scorpio. So Libra is very much about balance, fairness, and justice. And we had this new moon in Libra. And so this combination of Libra energy, where we're trying to establish this fair balance, with this Cancer energy getting amplified, this is a really good time to start trying to establish the balance between nurturing, mothering, taking care of ourselves, in balance with others. Because we don't want to be at either one of the extremes. And this energy, especially not with this square where the tension is there, it's not going to allow you to be at one extreme or the other. You're really going to have to figure out how to balance. And this is also where, like, when we're making changes and pivots, where we do like our pros and cons list of, like, okay, here are my options, here are the pros, here are the cons, and I'm using that to be able to make some decisions. That's where this is coming into play also, where we could be feeling some of that amplified Cancer energy in trying to nurture both of those pros and those cons, and include our self-nurturing and the nurturing of others in that, but also this Libra energy of trying to balance between the options. And then, because the tension with Jupiter right now is with Chiron, that means your wounds are going to come out. So I think that's why it keeps coming out, that we have to be careful not to go into survival mode right now and make some really big decisions, because we have these feelings of being uncomfortable. Yeah. Okay. Okay, Nara. Good. I'm glad that's resonating. What other questions do you have around that? Okay, good. Good. I'm glad you don't feel as crazy. So I think it, like, I know for myself, and part of this is because I have a Capricorn sun. If I understand why I feel the way I'm feeling, I can deal with it a lot more. It's the uncertainty that I don't like. And so that's what causes me to be able to go into these vibrations, to just better understand what's going on around me. Because then it can give you some direction of what to do. So, right now, beginning to really think about how to balance the nurturing of yourself, your wounds, with the nurturing of others, and the wounds that we have inflicted. Because Chiron is both. That's very much what needs to be done. Like, that's where we could focus in. Oh, okay. 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 Good. Yeah, Anara. Yeah, like that feeling of uncertainty, like, especially when you have been in survival mode, or you've had to be in survival mode, which a lot, most of us, like the systems of society around us, have, they've been built to put us into survival mode and try and keep us in survival mode. Because when you're in survival mode, you don't think well, you're less logical. You're actually using less of your brain power than usual. So we only use 10% of our brain anyway. But then when you're in survival mode, it can go all the way down to like 3 to 5%. So even halving that. So we have things around us that have tried to put us into survival mode and keep us in survival mode on a regular basis so that we cannot make logical decisions. Um, and we're not balancing between what we know and what we're feeling in with our head, our logic, or with our heart, with our true emotions. Because also when you're in survival mode, you go numb emotionally. So that's the very first thing that we have to start being able to do is help ourselves to calm our nervous systems and step out of that survival mode. Because everything, yes, there's lots of things that we have to survive. Like there's lots of scenarios that and it's built into the system. So we're not going to be able to avoid it. There's lots of things that we're going to have to survive, but we have to figure out how to be able to calm our nervous system so that we can actually help ourselves and help each other from a more logical and healthy emotional place. Uh, yes. So your grief is very much a wound. And it is one of the ways that we can tend to slip into that survival mode of being uncomfortable. And one of the big reasons that grief is so um, huge for us is again because these society structures they have put us in a state of grief and uncertainty on a regular basis. And right now, we are in a time. Oh, hi, Josh. Thanks for being here. We're in a time right now where, and that, you know what? It kind of goes with this because it's part of it. Um, and I think I mentioned this last week too. I don't remember. Who cares? I don't know. But we're in a place right now where the US is having its Chiron return. So the US is having to face all of the wounds that it's needing to heal, whether they've been wounds that have been inflicted on them as a country, but even more so, the wounds that they've inflicted on others, both other countries, people in other countries, but also internal wounds. The internal wounds would be the wounds that the United States have inflicted on the people that live here. So we're in a moment in time where these wounds are very highlighted and they are very much open and festering and causing a lot of issues. And so if we are going through personal losses and grief, those are going to be expanded even more right now. If you are, well, and really, it's all of us, then the whole world that are impacted by the wounds of the United States. Whether we are living in the United States and it's internal or it's wounds that have been inflicted on the rest of the world outwardly from the United States. So a lot of what we're seeing right now is this Chiron return, these wounds. And that goes right back to what we were talking about, where we have Jupiter in this square to Chiron. So not only are the wounds like highlighted right now just in general, but we also have this tension that's being caused between the wounds and wanting to expand the nurturing of those wounds. Yeah. Hi, Tiptoe Joe. You made it. No, we haven't been trying to hide from you. It's been a rough week. That's what we're talking about. Hopefully, your week has been good. And hopefully, you're feeling better. So, anybody that's come in, um, anybody that's lurking around, let me know if there's anything that you would like to talk about. It seems like we're kind of hitting the right nerve with this topic, and we can continue to go through this. But if there's anything else, any numbers or anything that have come up for you this week, let me know. So we've seen this week that we've had. So the new moon is always when we're setting new intentions. So this week has been in this energy of setting these new intentions or planting new seeds around this area of balance and justice. And I know we've seen this, and also fairness. We've seen this kind of everywhere, everywhere, everywhere. Like in all kinds of news reports and everything that's been happening. Um, and then 2 days later, we had this Jupiter square Chiron. So it's a amplification of the tension between wanting to grow in a nurturing way and the wounds that are being highlighted for us right now. There's some other interesting stuff that's happening in our skies that are related to this too. Let me check chat and see if there's something, a different direction we should go. Yes. Yes, Josh. But it's so hard to be able to, like, how do you reconcile that we're in an energetic time where the wounds have to be highlighted? And because for the United States, this is not their first Chiron return, I think it's the third or fourth. I think the fourth, because Chiron goes all the way around all of the zodiac signs. I think it's around every 50 years. Every 50 years or so, around there. Because as an individual, you'll have your Chiron return when you're about 50 years old. Um, so every time that the United States has uh, had to go through this Chiron return where it's wounds and the wounds that have inflicted have been highlighted. It's doing two things. It's giving an opportunity, like a huge energetic opportunity to heal the wounds. So as individuals, when we get to that like 50 age 50 mark, um that's when we have the biggest opportunity to heal a lot of our wounds in this lifetime and in past lifetimes, because then we're able to step into a greater vibrational power. But what it also does is it like builds up. I guess the best way I can describe it is that like builds up the energy of karma. So if you're not facing your wounds, then every time you have that Chiron return as a country or as a group of people, now it's amplified, it's bigger. So that's what's happening with the United States, where every time it has faced its wounds, it may have done some healing here and there, but it has not healed its core wounds. And because of that, now we're in this fourth time, or like fourth time that we've seen this Chiron return in this country, and it's just amplified. So when we've talked about where you like have like a burden, where it's like a barrier in your path of life, and we've talked about how you can uh rotate around and like raise your vibration, so that as you're raising your vibration, you're getting to the top and you're making this smaller. Unfortunately, because vibration is neutral, we can go in the opposite direction also. So we could also, if we're not wanting to face this, we could be going downward. And really, it's not even downward. What it is that we're just going in a circle where it just continues here. And so then it's oh, you just realizing that, huh, Josh? Keep going back. Go 50 years, 50 years, 50 years. Keep going back until you get to 1776, and you'll see those ties to history. Yeah, yikes is yikes is right. So we have a ton happening right now with these wounds. So then we could talk about it more tomorrow, but hip hop is also going through its first Chiron return at the same time. Right around, so 2023, when it turned 50, is when it started that process. And Chiron moves relatively slowly through a zodiac sign. So you typically are working with your wounds and recognizing your Chiron return and having to face your wounds. Usually for like 8, 5 to 8 years. Yeah. There's so much happening right now, and that's why I keep saying it to everybody. I'm sure you all and my family, everybody, my children, just all annoyed with me. I keep saying, like, document everything, because we are in a very historical time, because this is one of those energetically historical moments in the history of not just Earth and our world or our country or whatever. It's like the whole universe right now. And so we need to be documenting this, of what we are experiencing and what we're seeing and what we're feeling, and what's happening. So, one of the things that is happening bigger than us here on Earth, but is impacting us here on Earth, is we've talked about that three eye atlas, which is that interstellar object. It's some weird rock from a totally different galaxy that's like floating around in our solar system right now. And it's very much changing the it's changing the flow of energy through our universe, through our solar system, but through the universe as a whole. Um, and it has been, so it was in Virgo. It came in Sagittarius, which is pretty interesting. Especially seeing that, like we just talked about, all the different generations. and the Sagittarius Pluto is that Gen Z. And so Gen Z's getting a hit from this Three Eye Atlas, but it also uh, was in Virgo, and it's still right now it's in Libra. So where we've had these other energetic things that have been happening um, in Libra, like we had the Libra new moon, and uh, we've been in Libra season. We just had the sun move out of Libra into Scorpio this week. So we're getting some relief from Libra, but Three Eye Atlas has been there also. What's been happening with Three Eye Atlas this week in particular is that it's like behind the sun where we can't see it. So where Three Eye Atlas has helped us to uncover the mirror. That's really what I think is some of the purpose of it. If it's uncovered the mirror, so we've had to face those wounds in the mirror. But with it behind the sun, it's kind of like now there's like a screen in front of the mirror. Like we could still see through it, we just can't see it as clearly. You put your numbers in? What? Oh my gosh, is this happening again? Oh my gosh, it's happening again. No. Oh my gosh. What in the world is that about? Well, we've had some crazy stuff happening in YouTube this week. We've had some people have crazy people coming in, and then I'm having all these issues with messages of things not coming through. Weird. Can somebody else try putting Judy's numbers in if you could see them? Yeah, no, I don't see them. Like I scrolled back and I do not see them. My gosh. Okay, we're gonna figure this out. That's a good theory, Josh. Yeah, try that. You and me both, Tiptoe Joe. Like last week, I thought I was losing my mind when I couldn't see the numbers that people were putting in the chat. That was insane. Okay, while you're figuring out the numbers things, I'll keep checking the chat to make sure I get them. But we'll continue on this. So, right now, with Three Eye Atlas going behind the sun, there's a little bit of like a film over the mirror, but it's slowly being taken off. And that's kind of what we've been seeing. Um, Also, Three Eye Atlas, it really very much feels like it's because it's not a comet, but the way that it's moving through the universe and like adding to the energetic field is similar to a comet. And a comet, so the word comet resonates at 56, which is the same as um, the word healing. So, really, we're supposed to be looking in this mirror and seeing this reflection of our wounds so that we can begin to go through this healing. And it just seems like every time we get a little bit comfortable, we have a burst of energy that comes in and makes us uncomfortable so that we can change. Hey, Cousin B! Thanks for being here. You see me? I survived. Thank you for being here. But what's also interesting, so we have this comment, um, behavior from Three Eye Atlas. But Three Eye Atlas, when we do its numbers, let's actually go over here. So when we look at Three Eye Atlas and we get its numbers, so again, where we're using our little chart where A is 1 and Z is 26, we have 3 plus 9 plus 1 plus 20 plus 12 plus 1 plus 19. Very telling, Josh, right? But there's even more. But wait, there's more. Well, because if these are wounds, and they definitely are, where we're seeing that this week in particular, it's these wounds that we need to heal from, but we don't see clearly right now. And if they are wounds that we don't want to see because they're actually wounds that we've inflicted on others and we have to heal them, now not being able to see them clearly gives a really nice out. But Three Eye Atlas, just its name, it resonates at 65, which is that mirror image of the word healing. Also, what resonates at 56 is the word light. And you know, I did write down this week, I have my journal over here per usual. Yeah, I wrote down a few other ones. So this is also why I really am seeing and feeling that this Three Eye Atlas is very much trying to create this mirror image for healing to occur. Okay. May 15th, 2016. I see that. I see that date. Do we want to look at that date? Okay, I'm going to wait for you to respond and let me know. But this 65 also is the phrase in Libra. So it's been amplified as we've been in Libra this week. It also is music, and one that I realized last night and kind of freaked me out, the word broken. I've been saying all week that I'm broken. I didn't even know that it was resonating with this. But like when we use a word or we have like a lyric or something stuck in our head and it's not one that we usually are hearing or one that we usually say, that's usually a sign that we have some message. So me continuously saying that I was broken this week. I said it like while I'm in the gym. Oh my gosh, I'm broken. After the gym, oh, I'm broken. During work, I'm broken. After work, I'm broken. I was just broken all this week. But it's that resonating vibration of 65. And then on this side, we do have the word comet. That is 56. We also have the word past. So where we have been seeing that for ourselves or people in like famous people, celebrities that are in the limelight where we've been watching them, the past has been coming up to haunt them. Um, or being like reflecting those wounds in the mirror of what needs to happen in their lives. I'm going to, I don't know why, but I am going to pull up a view of space. We're going to look at space because I guess we need to. I guess you all need a visual of what's happening because it's bigger than just what I'm saying, and you need to understand that. So, we are going to pull up space. All right, now let me figure out how to be able to make it so that you can see space. Josh, that's very telling. The chickens are coming home to roost. Yep, if you keep hearing that, that is that return. Yeah. Yeah, it's the return of that energy. It's just like saying reap what you sow. All right, so let me see if I can get this to work. Are you going to work? I don't know. Let me see. Oh, it worked. So, what I wanted you to see is that yes, we have 3-eye atlas. This is our solar system. Isn't this cool? Like when you all don't hear from me, this is what I be doing. I'll be in here playing with shit. Uh, Playing with planets and stuff. But look, so this is 3-eye atlas right here, where it's on the other side of the sun from where Earth is. Because Earth is here. But it's blocked by the sun. Um, yeah, this is how I dissociate. This is how I dissociate so that I can function because Earth is ghetto. I've got to escape sometimes. But if you ever want to escape with me, you're welcome. Please come. Let's escape together. But look, so it's not just 3-eye atlas. So we have the one that's 3-eye atlas right here. But we have 1, 2, 3 other comets that are here also. And this swan, this comet that is called Swan, it is actually very close to Earth. Where this one, we actually could possibly be able to see. Yes, Judy, we need to be in space for a minute. But so what I wanted you to be able to see is that if 3-eye atlas is creating so much of a disruption in what's happening right now energetically, that these 3 comets are also contributing to this also. So we have that 56 vibration times 3. And what's interesting is that the size of these comets are about 3 times smaller than 3-eye atlas. So it's creating this balancing, that Libra energy, for the comets and 3-eye atlas, but also for that healing in the mirror. Look, on, let's go. Whee! Now you know I feel comfortable and I love you when I'm like allowing you to see my dissociation. Cause this is what I do. I'll be in here exploring Earth. So if we go back to the 21st, so the 21st is really when the Three Eye Atlas was hidden by the sun. If we go back, so it was more hidden by the sun, um, but also it's pretty closely aligned to when we had that new moon on the 21st as well. So it was impacting that as also. And then when we get to, I think it's coming up next week. Yeah, the end of next week, the 29th. So you could see as I'm moving these, you could see how like the positioning of these comets and Three Eye Atlas, it's changing how the planets are interacting with each other and interacting with Earth. It's changing the vibrational flow. So it's kind of like if you have a river flowing and then you throw a big old boulder in there. Now the river is still flowing, but it has to flow around that boulder. And so it's changing how the flow is happening. That's what's happening right now in our universe. Um, on the 29th is when this is the point where Three Eye Atlas is as close it's going to be to the sun. And we've got these other three comets here. We got some crazy stuff happening right now. The other thing that, so I watch a geophysicist named Stefan Burns. He has a YouTube channel and is beloved across the world. But he goes into a lot of the connections between what's happening in our universe and especially with our sun, to what's happening on Earth. So, what we potentially could see is we've seen some interaction between Three Eye Atlas and the sun, where the sun this week has been like emitting like these solar bursts, like solar flares that have been going straight at Three Eye Atlas. And the last time we had an object like this was in 2017. And right after there was that interaction between the sun and Three Eye Atlas, there was some pretty big earthquakes that happened. So we're seeing some kind of connection. We're seeing how this energy is flowing. Okay. I'll take us out of space. Maybe. Okay, yeah. I'll take us out of space. Unless there's anything anybody wants to see. But that's, I like being in space. So we really do have a lot of energetic things happening right now. So as we're witnessing this, we need to be documenting it and trying to understand it enough so that we're not going into survival mode. Because we can feel very uncomfortable with the energy and then go into survival mode and make some pretty big decisions that could highly impact our life, because we're seeing that happening in a lot of the legislation and political dealings and the dealings between countries. Is there's some pretty big decisions that are being made from a place that's not logical, and it's also not healthy emotionally. But this is what that energy can make us do, and that's no good. Okay. Are you back from space? I came back from space. Can you come back from space with me? Let me know what numbers I'm supposed to be looking at now so we can like move on from this. So May 15th, 2016, is that what I'm doing next? That's an interesting thought, Josh. You know what I think? Like there's not a lot of proof of this, but my thinking is that if everything is energy and all energy is vibration, oh, it doesn't want to appear in chat. Okay. That's fine. We'll talk about them later. Um I think I think the sun and this three-eye atlas and the earth, I think these flows is how they communicate with each other. Cuz if you think about it, our the way we communicate is vibrational. We have the vibration of our vocal cords to speak, but also we're putting out the vibrations of our life path number and our name all the time. And so then that's how we get that nonverbal communication. And so then we're getting these like, because this is what I think is really happening with astrology anyway. It's like these energy flows where it's like communicating, it's like talking to each other. We just don't speak their language. Oh, that's crazy. Oh, yeah, no, that don't. Judy, you put them in 3 times while you were driving. That's why they don't want to be in there, because you're not supposed to be doing that. That's crazy, lady. I'll be around. We could talk about them later. And who knows? Just like last week, they just randomly appeared. So they could just randomly appear. Hi, New Beginnings! Thanks for being here. I think the thing that we need to focus on and remember for all of this energy is that every single vibration is neutral. It's neutral. We do not, it does not become a positive or a negative thing until it enters our perspective. So we make things positive or negative. If we can get to a place where we can see vibration as neutral, now we can actually intentionally, like consciously choose if it's positive or negative for us and not just being impacted by it. So if we're like, we have our perspective and we have like a vibration that's coming in, we, from our perspective, we change it. We split it up into like, oh, when we see this vibration in this way, we consider it bad. And when we can see it this way, we consider it good. And there can be times where we see it in a way where it's neutral. This is why, like the numbers, so in some cultures, like the number 13 is bad luck, but in other cultures, it's good luck. Or in other cultures, it's nothing at all. Nobody cares about 13. That's why, because of your perspective. The perspective is what changes it. And so I think with this communication between like planets in our space, it's very neutral. Yes, exactly. It's just changing yeah, it's changing like the wave, it's changing how those vibrations are moving. It's changing how much of a vibration we're getting, and it's changing what vibrations we're getting. But it's not um it's none of that is good or bad. It's all neutral. It's not until it hits us, because like if it's like you know how they say that excitement and nervousness feels the same. Like I learned that in like public speaking 101 or something in some class, where they were telling us that I thought it was bullshit at the time, but it actually makes sense that in our bodies we get the same um energetic reaction to when we're excited as when we are nervous. That's why they feel the same. So like we were Anara and I were talking earlier about how you could feel uncomfortable. But if we can learn that when we're uncomfortable, it's actually opening an opportunity for us to be able to pivot or change to improve our life, instead of seeing it as like we have to survive whatever's coming, we'd be much better off. So it literally is, it's only changing what vibrations and the amount of vibrations that are hitting us. We make them good, bad, or allow them to be neutral. Hopefully that answers your question. Okay, I gotta find this date again. I might need you to put it in again, LTFM, because I keep losing stuff. Oh, wait, I think I found it. You could just confirm for me if it's May 15th, 2016. Oh, we. Yeah. Yeah, exactly, Josh. Um, where the way that Earth's energy is we're always meant to have some of that dualism, that duality. And remember too that time doesn't exist but here on Earth. So we have all of these vibrations that are coming from outside the Earth. It's actually getting filtered through um, the duality vibration of Earth, and it's getting filtered through time. It's actually getting stretched through time. It's pretty interesting. We've got a lot going on, and it's interesting to look at. I want to continue to try and help you all be able to see it because it's interesting. Yes, yeah. Where I've been learning that time, and like when I look at it, it's so interesting because when I look at vibrations outside of time, they do look very differently after they've passed through time. They get stretched out. And so time really is supposed to be for us to learn our lessons and to heal. So instead of everything being instantaneous, because like When we talk about instant karma, like instantaneous reward, um, that's how everything would be if we didn't have time. Like as soon as those vibrations hit us, we would have an immediate effect. But if we had that, we would not have the time. They need to get stretched out, and we wouldn't be able to actually work through them. Yeah, we could probably have like a whole month or more of lives just talking about time. It's actually very interesting. So May 15th. Is this right? 2016. Hopefully I remembered it correctly. Okay, that's LT's date. Okay. Yep. So let's look at it. Here we go. So we first look at the year. My ear is ringing. Um, Real quick, is LT still in here? Is LT still in here and actually listening? Because I'm getting a ringing in my ear, which a lot of times means that um, the the right person may not be listening. So we might have to wait till LT's able to listen. I'll wait a minute and see in the chat if LT is here or is back here. Um, are there any other numbers or dates or topics you want to talk about? Josh, we can't get into time because I can't be here all night. Maybe we can a little bit. LTFM. LTFM. Let's see what else we got. Hmm. I'm going to just look at my journal. Let's see what else came out this week. Hi, Doc. Thank you. Thank you for dropping by. I hope you're doing well. Oh, I can tell you about this. So, some of you heard when we were in where were we? Oh my gosh, I'm like out of it. Hey, Eva. Thank you for being here. All right, so we're saving this date for LTFM because we want to make sure he gets the message that is needed. And I was going to tell you about well, I said the other day, I think it was yesterday, I said that I was going to make a mojo bag. But this actually, what we're going to do is talk about, because that's a little too deep. We're not going to go that deep. But we're going to talk about like our food, our tea, and our herbs. Because all of those are vibrational too. So, when we are wanting to use food, teas, or any kind of herbs to help us with our vibrational flow, um, we tend to use. Um, I think you're right, Judy. I I I think so. That's why I wanted to make sure that he was here for that. Um, but all of these are vibrational. And so what we would use is we'll use the name of them. And this can change based on the culture and the language. So you want to use whatever you call it, to be able to know how to use it to help yourself. So I know several of us, including myself, are on like health journeys. And this actually is a year healing. It's a big, huge year for healing. And so will next year be. Um, but healing does include healing the physical body. And so we would use our food and herbs and teas to help heal our physical bodies. And so we use the name of whatever it is that we are consuming to be able to get that vibration. So, trying to think of something. So, like, okay. So, before we talk about like exactly how you use those vibrations, there's something else. So, if this, oh, wait, I don't need to make a square. I can make another one of my stick figures. Woo-hoo! Because we're having the food come in our body. So, whatever the food or drink, and yes, even our most precious herbs, you want to use the name to understand how it's vibrating with you. And so when you have certain foods or teas or herbs that are working with your body, then it's usually that the vibrations are resonating with you well. No, Josh, don't you start. Don't you start in here. Don't you do it. Don't you do it. So if you have foods that work well with your body, then it increases usually your energy level, and it decreases any of, usually how we can tell when something is not working with us is inflammation. Because inflammation is energy not moving. So this also is energetic flow. So when we have something that is not working in our body, this is where we have energy that's not moving. So when we have inflammation, when we have disease, when we have any kind of ailments, that's energy not flowing. And so also if you have foods that you can't eat, they don't resonate with you well. They don't they don't resonate with you well. Just leave them alone. I can't really give any more advice than that because I'm not good at leaving those things alone. But one of the ways that you can begin to work with these vibrations is to get the name of the foods and actually get their vibrational number. Now, of course, just like with us, our foods do have like a life path number, but we can't see exactly when those life path numbers occurred. Like, can't find the exact date. We can find a near date if we are planting those ourselves in our own gardens or we're the farmer. Um, but we can't really get that date. We can use some of those dates of like when it was produced, or when it was planted, but not not very well. Hey, Flex, that's right. You better get on them. Make sure, because I didn't want this topic to come up. I don't know why this topic is coming up. Probably because of yesterday, because I was traumatized. Like, nope. Thanks for being here, Flex. So you could use this name, um, to be able to really understand how these vibrations are working. So, for instance, we are not going to use examples that are going to cause an uproar. But I don't know what example is not going to cause an uproar. Oh my gosh. And everything that's coming to my head is going to cause trouble. Okay, I got one. So soy. Soy is like my biggest allergen. When I have soy, I get an instant migraine. Oh, somebody in trouble. Ooh, that's loud. Um, so when I have soy, I get like an instant migraine. It causes me so many issues. So one of the ways I can better understand how it's moving through my body is there's a couple of different ways, but the easiest way is to just get um, this vibration. So if we're using A is 1 and Z is 26 and all the letters in between, then soy is 19 plus 15 plus 25, which is 59. So, just by looking at this, we know that soy is bringing this vibration of creating an ending or shifting your energy. So, it's an end, a completion, or a shift. And that shift that's happening, it contributes to a change that's happening within your body. That change then goes to this 14, where this is a mixing of energies. So it creates a change, new mix. Hi, lovely. It's creating a change or a mix, a change in the mix of the energies within your body. And then this creates a bigger change. So, just in general, that's what soy is doing within your body. So, you can also look at some indigenous texts, and it actually will tell you about how the shape of the leaves or how a particular plant looks is how you know how it works for you and like what you can use it for, but that's more medicinal. And we do have to consider like where it comes from. So we have to consider like what the location is, because that changes the vibration. We have to be aware of like what chemicals have been used. And okay, I got to go on a soapbox for a little bit because this drives me crazy. Um, so when people say, "Oh, it's organic," where it's grown organically, it's actually just telling you that it has lower levels of the chemicals used, or only specific chemicals are used. So there's certain things that you can use to be considered organic, and certain things you can't use and it won't be considered organic. And a lot of the smaller farmers, um, they can't even afford what would be considered organic, um, like fertilizers and chemicals, and going through the organic process, because it's also based on how you use water in the process of growing. And so a lot of small farmers can't even do any of that because they can't afford it. And so sometimes the food that is not labeled organic is actually more healthy for you than the food that is labeled organic, if that makes sense. Because when you have your home garden, you know exactly what you're putting in there, what exactly you're doing for that to grow. Same with like a smaller farmer. If they can't afford, because the FDA, at least here in the United States, requires that you use very particular fertilizers and water and chemical process. Like your water has to be filtered, like I think it's like a ridiculous amount of time for it to be considered appropriate for organic. But as you're filtering the water, you're actually taking nutrients out of it. So, all right, that's my organic soapbox. So, support small farmers, um, because they really are probably the most healthiest. Go to your farmers markets, grow your own gardens. Okay, so then what you can do. So once you get what the name vibration is for the food you want to look at, then you can add your life path number. So for myself, so soy is 59. My life path number is 60. Yeah. Like it's okay. Another soapbox. It's crazy how different our water is, before it goes through the process that the government requires and what actually comes out. And there's many places, in the United States, in particular, like in the territories, that are islands, or like Hawaii and Alaska, that are more, they're still very like untouched. Um, they actually make the water worse than when it just comes out of the ground. It's crazy. It's so crazy. It's so insane. All right. So then I could. So this is me. Me. So for me, when I eat soy, I'm getting this 119 um vibration. And like actually like seeing this, cuz I haven't done this before. I mean, I did like a big list of foods for myself before to look at the vibrations and kind of like test out some of these things that I was, seeing and experiencing. But I haven't looked at soy, like just soy specifically. Um, and this makes sense. So for me, soy is a huge allergen. It does not work well with me. And so 119, goes to a 11, that then goes to 2. So what is happening? So soy and I are trying to work together to shift some energy. My body obviously does not like how this is shifting, especially because the shifting is creating a split. So here, where it's supposed to be creating a mix of energies, this is splitting energies. And obviously, my body does not like that split. Really, probably what it is that this split, because we have both of these 11s here, this energy is getting split multiple times. And my body cannot get me to this two. It can't bring it back together. It can't pull out the things that are nutrient, that are good for me, um, and use them and get rid of the stuff that isn't good for me. So this is very interesting. So there you go. From your crazy conversation yesterday, there's some actual knowledge. That's good. Good knowledge. We need some good knowledge in our life. But you can do this also when you're working with like your herbs and your teas. So when we get into, I'm sure we'll get into at some point, when we're getting into like using food and tea and herbs as medicine, this is one of the ways you can better understand those vibrations and how they can work with you. So, yeah, that's it. What else? What else we got to talk about? Anything? Oh, bye, lovely. Thanks for coming. It's nice to have you here. Yeah, so as we're all, going on our healing journeys, we have to remember that it's in all of these spaces, and we can use these vibrations in physical ways too, because usually that's the way we think of healing and health first, is our physical body. Even though it is our physical, our mental, our spiritual is all wrapped up in our energetic self. But we can use these vibrations in these ways also. So it's actually very interesting because um, with like Western medicine pharmaceuticals, it's they are meant to. Oh, okay. Okay, I'm glad you're not leaving. I thought you just got here. Okay, 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 okay. Good. Let me know if you have any numbers. Um, so with Western pharmaceuticals, what they're tracking is how the energy flow is changing in the forms of the proteins that are being created, and the proteins that are being used within your body, um, versus Eastern medicine, which is looking at, most of the times it is looking at the energy directly. This is, I love this topic, so we can always come back to this. But even so, being able to find a healthy balance between the Western and the Eastern is usually where you're going to find the best way to get your energy to be able to flow. Because that's really what true health is it's gaining control of the energy that you have coming in, whether that's your food, whether that's your interactions, whether that's what you're energetically through your intentions pulling into your space. So it's pulling in this energy, having more control and intention of what you're pulling in, how you're using it, and then how you're moving it out. because we need to have that cycle happening. You need to keep that energy moving at all times. Hey, Nikki! Thank you so much for dropping in. It's so good to see you. Thank you. Thank you for being here. So I guess this is something that we can dive into, that in space. Man, we were all over the place today. We talked about our own self healing. We've talked about uh, the state of the United States and wounds, and we've gone to space. And now we've talked about food. So we could expand on any of those going forward. So as you're going through your healing journeys, know that you can bring your questions, and you can bring any of the numbers or what you're feeling or thinking. You can bring it here, because all of that I can we can talk about all of that and how it's all interconnected. So we are very much in a time of healing. So with this year being a 9 energy, we really are supposed to be ending and shifting a lot of energy so that we can begin to step into a new space. And really, stepping into a new space is healing. Because remember, healing is just like any vibration, it can go either way. So we want good, positive healing. But all of that's what's coming for us in 2026. So what you've been experiencing in October, be prepared to see it in smaller doses and larger doses in 2026. So exciting. And oh, so next week, I think at the beginning of the week is when I will be putting out the videos for November. So we could start I can't even believe that. Next week is the end of October. I can't believe that. But I'll put out the November videos next week so we can start talking about November energy and preparing for that. And also earlier this week, I think like the beginning of this week, I put out some vibrational meditations on the number 141. So the vibration of 141. So I'll talk a little bit more about this. Well, I have a video that explains it, but basically what it is it's to try and help draw in some of that energy to help us on this healing journey. I'm so glad you all are here. Is there anything else that we need to talk about before we go? And then tomorrow, we have a lot to talk about for hip hop tomorrow, especially looking in that mirror. So let me know what you would like to talk about tomorrow. We'll be back for hip hop vibrations tomorrow. You all are having a good conversation, so I'm just going to sit here and let you have a conversation. But you let me know if there are vibrations you want to look at, and then we'll go pretty soon. And anybody that talks to LTFM, hopefully he'll be able to come back tomorrow. We'll look at his date the next time he's able to make a live. Yeah, hip hop was crazy this week, but it was very interesting in that it very much was about like that reap what you sow. As Josh said, that the roost, what is it? I don't remember the saying. The chickens are coming home to roost. There it is. That karmic energy, but very much dealing with the mirror of having to face yourself in the mirror. So we'll see. And that could be not what comes out tomorrow. We'll see. We will see. But there is a lot to talk about tomorrow. Okay. Yes. I will see you over on Twitch. I will be there soon. Okay, Tiptoe. I'm glad that you were at least here incognito. All right, everybody have a wonderful night and can head over to Cousin B's Twitch account so we can hang out some more. And I'll see you tomorrow and we'll talk hip hop vibrations. Thanks for being here. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye. Thanks, Judy. I appreciate all of you as well.